Hey guys, it's Justin here, or you can call me Moose. Welcome back to another video. Today's video, I got my overview of the actual B.O.S.S unit. So this is not going to be an entire gameplay video of me using this in game, and so this is just going to be my overview and a little bit of my journey on how I got this working and what it all took for me to get this to work on my gun and what I think of it. So first off, the B.O.S.S unit is manufactured over in New Zealand by RDX Technologies. I will leave their link in the description below. The US distributor is Zulu Outdoors, which I will also leave in the description of this video. So the B.O.S.S unit was actually a pre-order made back in July of this year, 2024. And I was not part of that initial pre-order. However, Zulu Outdoors still had some extra units in September, and I was able to get my order in just before they started shipping out the units. And so I was actually able to get my unit as part of the first batch from the pre-order, even though I didn't actually get the pre-order during July. So I received my unit in the middle to late August, and I was getting ready for a milsim event at JTC Tactical, their last one of the year, on November 9th. And so I was in a little bit of a rush to try to get it put together. Now, for those of you who know really nothing about the B.O.S.S unit, go look it up. Go look at the links I left in the description of the video. We'll wait for my entire gameplay video of me using this at that milsim event. But essentially what this is it's a sound simulator for an airsoft gun, mainly AEGs, because you can't really use this for gas blowback for fire hazards. But essentially what this is you connect it to your gun's internals, either through the gearbox or through a different thing called the shot detection module, which I'll get into here in a moment. But essentially every time I pull the trigger of my gun, it will send a signal to the B.O.S.S unit, which is a propane combustion chamber in a way. So I can fill it full of gas, whether it's propane, green gas, or MAP gas. And what it will do is every time I send a signal of a shot being fired through the gun, it will send it to the unit, and it will emit a puff of gas, and then it will also ignite in here. There's a little bit of a igniter, so think of it like a taser, and it will ignite the gas, emitting a small explosion, making the sound of the gunshot every time the trigger is pulled. So about the shot detection module. The shot detection module was essentially a circuit board that was made to try to make it easier for new users to install the B.O.S.S unit themselves if they didn't have access to professional help. If you do end up getting you a B.O.S.S unit, if you do not have experience working with the internals or wiring of your gearbox, I suggest don't touch it. Bring it to somebody who has worked with a gearbox, as well as somebody who's used to working with wires and soldering. Otherwise, you could risk messing up your gun like I did, or even if you somehow do a really bad job messing up your unit. But I will say, the odds of you messing up the unit is pretty rare unless you just do something absolutely stupid. So be smart and go slow. So the shot detection module will actually go in between where the battery goes and where you would normally connect the battery into the gun. And what this will do is it will supply constant power to the B.O.S.S unit, and then whenever you send a signal, like the gun is firing, it will detect if 5 amps or more is drawn from the battery. They're working on a 1 amp version, but currently the version I have is for a 5 amp. So if 5 amps gets drawn from the battery or the gun fires, then it will send a signal to the B.O.S.S unit to signal of firing the B.O.S.S unit. So when I first got my unit, my brother and I tried to work on the soldering for the shot detection module, which I had to order separately. And in doing so, we were trying to move a wire around because it wasn't quite working the way it was supposed to. And in doing so, we accidentally burnt the circuit board. and we had to order another shot detection module, which that's down 40 bucks. And so then afterwards, I tried to get into the gearbox of my gun to also see what it was doing inside of my gun. Well, I had never taken my gearbox apart before. In doing so, I accidentally fried the MOSFET by adding battery juice, or by sending power to the MOSFET with half of the MOSFET gone. I blew the MOSFET and destroyed it. So I had to order me another MOSFET, which was down another 30 bucks, which was fun. But I did get to learn a lot about how my gearbox worked. But essentially, I had to order another MOSFET, got the MOSFET in. Once I got the MOSFET in, I had accidentally trying to mess with my gun a little bit more to get the B.O.S.S unit installed correctly. I had accidentally broke the motor connectors to my gun, which was really annoying because they can become brittle if you bend them the wrong way, which I did, and then constant use of taking them on and off incorrectly, which I also did. Broke the motor connector, so I had to get a third MOSFET, which was just annoying. And so once I got the new MOSFET in again, I installed everything correctly. I knew a little bit more about my gearbox, put the gearbox and everything on. Everything was in correctly. And then I finally got the shot detection module plugged in, everything. And then even with all that done, the B.O.S.S unit was still not firing correctly. The B.O.S.S unit has 2 or 3 modes actually that built into the firmware. There is a silent mode, which will essentially does what it sounds like. It will make the unit not fire. In other words, if you're going into like a small metal container, like what most fields may have, it is way too loud in there for most people that do not have hearing protection, which you are supposed to wear hearing protection while firing in this thing. It is pretty loud. I would give it a range of about that of a 22. I don't know as far as decibel range. I don't have a thing to measure that, but it's inside of a wooden building. It can be fine for a couple shots if somebody else is in that building, but let off a whole bunch of shots with somebody with sensitive ears or PTSD is just a bad idea. So whenever you're going to a building, take it easy. If you're going to like a metal conics building, put it in silent mode. You just got to hold a button down for 2 seconds. It also has a test mode, so you can test whether the B.O.S.S unit is actually receiving a signal. That's for if you're actually splicing wires into the internals of your gun versus using the shot detection module. So that's a really handy thing, so you can test the B.O.S.S unit without having it fire inside the workshop. And then it also has a third mode, which is God mode, so you can make sure the unit itself is actually working without the signal wire working. And so mine, everything was working except for shooting it. The signal wire was acting like it was working, but it wasn't firing the system. And so what I had to do was I emailed RDX Technology. I emailed their service email, and I actually got a response that night, which this is New Zealand, so their response was like at midnight. I contacted them about 4 in the morning, to which they responded about 6 o'clock. I had to be at work by 7, and I managed to get within that hour, talk it out with them, and figure out what the problem was. Essentially what the problem was there is a little solenoid piston in here that will slide back and emit that puff of gas. That thing, keep in mind, so at RDX Technologies, these were built and tested in New Zealand. Once it was built and tested in New Zealand, it was sent over to Zulu Outdoors, which was in New York. Then it was also tested and then shipped to me. And so it had not been like fully cleaned since then, and there was even some gas still built in here. The guy at Zulu Outdoors has actually released all of the gas in all the units before shipping them, but sometimes some residue inside there can make some build up. And so I let all that out, and what I had to do is I had to take some pure silicone, made sure it was very fine. It couldn't be like chunky. Silicone had to be like very fine and thin. And I poured that into the exhaust port after removing the screw, and it made the solenoid loosen up. After doing that, it worked properly. After that, my B.O.S.S unit was working great. And so as far as difficulty to install it, if you know what you're doing, it's not that difficult if you have the shot detection module, or if you are used to soldering and working with gearboxes, it's not that bad. You just got to figure out which wires are which the B.O.S.S unit has the test mode, making it really easy for you guys to do that. So if you know what you're doing with the gearbox, know what you're doing with soldering wires and cables together, then you'll be fine. It's not that difficult. But if you are a complete beginner to all that, beginner to working with the gearbox or even taking your gun apart in general, I highly, highly suggest taking it to somebody who knows what they're doing, or else you risk messing up your gun like I did. And if you don't have extra cash lying around to be able to buy replacement parts, and you don't know enough to fix it with said replacement parts, I highly suggest taking it to a professional that knows what they're doing, so that way you don't risk messing up your rifle, as your replica, I should say, as well as your B.O.S.S unit. But I will say this B.O.S S unit is really resilient. Something else I would suggest if you ever do get one of these is tighten all the screws down. I had some of these screws start coming loose because sometimes they can come loose in shipping and stuff, and then also while firing it is causing an explosion, causing the whole gun to shake. Sometimes it can cause screws to loosen. So if you're shooting this for a little bit and something starts feeling loose on either your unit or your replica, to make sure all your screws are tightened. You may have to do that a little bit every now and then and to actually get them tight. I did lose a screw, which is not that bad. I just got to find a small Allen screw and then I'll be fine. Or bolt rather, not a screw. But otherwise than that, main thing to do is just whenever you go to a field, check with field staff before using the unit, because sometimes they do not want the unit used either because of kids, or they know they have several players with PTSD and they don't want to trigger some type of episode. So my overall thoughts on the B.O.S.S unit itself is I absolutely love it. It's kind of funny how the airsoft community was just like on the verge of everybody was trying to get their gun to be as quiet as it can possibly be. And then now the B.O.S.S unit comes into play to where you're making your gun quite as loud as possible. This is pretty much as loud as you can get within still being safe, unless the entire field, like at an AMS event or a milsim West event, is all wearing hearing protection and used to blink fire. Then this is about as loud as you can get, which it is really loud. Like I said, about as loud as a 22. And then it also even gives a little bit of recoil. Not as much as some gas blowback replicas, but also more than some gas blowback replicas. So I like to call it, it is about as loud as some 22s, not all. And it has the recoil of about some 22s, but not all. So it is really cool. The fact that it can work in both semi and full auto is just amazing to me. I've seen some guys will run this even on an AEG. I mean, not AEG, a LMG. You just got to be careful with overheating it, which depending on how much you're shooting, how often, shouldn't be that big of a problem. Just make sure to read the owner's manuals for everything, including your unit, your B.O.S.S unit, as well as your replica before messing around with stuff. All right, so I'm going to give you my overview after using the B.O.S.S unit for a milsim event. This was at JTC Tactical. We had, I want to say, about maybe 40 players, 30 to 40 players at the peak for the day. It was a lot of fun. Our team was kind of down in numbers, and so we had maybe like 10 people versus about 20 on the other team. And so it was a little rough, but we actually managed to tie for the day. It was a lot of fun. But more about the B.O.S.S unit. What was cool about it was there was a couple of times I ran out of ammo, but the B.O.S.S unit still works whether you have ammo or not. So there were several times where I had no ammo, but the people were still ducking for cover because the B.O.S.S unit is running and it's shooting. Just walking around behind people and then shooting them, they hear the loud bang and they feel and hear the tap on their back. It has a different impact to it, and it adds that level of immersion. For those of you who have been to milsim West or don't know about milsim West, at milsim West they allow blank fire rifles from people that they've given permission to, and essentially it adds such a level of immersion to hear the blank fire rounds going off all around you while you're fighting. It's amazing. And so what this unit allows is for that immersion to come to fields smaller than a giant milsim West event for a fraction of the price as a blank fire unit, as well as still being able to play. Because with the blank fire, you're spending a lot of money for actual firearms, and you're spending a lot of money on the blanks, and it's just a lot of money and a lot of weight versus get this thing. Granted, it's about an $800 fee for this thing, but after that, you don't got to pay for blanks, and you can still play the game because your replica is still firing like normal. So like I said, my overall thoughts on this, it was absolutely awesome. I'll include a couple clips in here of me allowing other people to shoot it, including field owners and field staff, to just kind of let you guys see how everybody else thought of the B.O.S.S unit. I'll include a couple highlights from my JTC gameplay, but I'm not going to include all my gameplay because I'm going to let most of that be in its own separate video, which will be coming out sooner than later. But Overall, guys, I love it. If you have any questions about it or any questions about how it felt using it in the field, be sure to let me know either in the comment section down below, or if you look in the description of my of this video, you'll see my Discord server. Make sure to join it, and that way you guys can ask me questions anytime and I can better answer, because YouTube is wonky and it's a little weird sometimes. But anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.
Oh, that sounds mean.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
If I do it so casually,
I was
gonna say.
I've been looking at it all day, and I'm like, so what do you pull this?
So you just pull the trigger like normal. Just watch it. Hang on. One thing to note: don't put your fingers over this, because that's where the explosion happens.
Seriously, I wish I had a GoPro. Yeah. Does that create some recoil too?
A little bit. Yeah.
That's a little bit of a blowback. Yours, I would say yours has still got more, but
yeah. Okay.
For an AEG, that's because I turned the RPM down too low.
That's cool. That thing's cool.
It will also shoot map gas or green gas.
Because your battery's getting
Go for it.
low on charge. It can still work, but it's getting low. It's getting fully charged.
Hold on.
It's fully charged.
Hold on.
That one will definitely.
Also, it's probably needs some gas too.
That's cool.
Put it in full auto.
That's wild, bro.
It's really cool.
It even simulates some recoil.
It does,
cool.
a little bit. Yeah.
Oh, that's wild, man.
Hey, look at that. Like
So put it on fire.
500 watt.
And just shoot like normal. There you go.
Okay.
Put it in full auto.
Okay. Is it on?
It's on safe.
Got it?
Yep.
Oh, wow, that's nice.
Go full auto.
Look out, Jay. Open your eyes.
It's cool. Hold on. You gotta let a mixture of air in there sometimes. Go for it. Yeah.
Hi.
The red dot's nice too.
Yeah.
Don't you care touch my nose.
Try full auto. I need to adjust the RPM, but it's unsafe. It's on full. It took about a month, only because I didn't know what I was doing and I messed up my gun a couple times. Hold on. Hold on. I just gotta let a mixture of gas. If it sits too long, I gotta let some air in there. Go for it.
I do like that. That
It's
is
cool.
really nice.
It gives it some recoil, but then it's also loud.
Dude, it's cool.
I've been hearing it all day.
It's unsafe right now. Hang on, time out. Just watch your fingers from here, because there is an explosion there.
Yeah. Can I move this back? Or forward?
A tiny bit.
Like that one? You don't pull that.
You don't pull that trigger. Just shoot the gun like normal.
Oh, really?
Yep. It's unsafe.
Oh. I feel like a noob.
Hang on, time out. I just gotta let some gas in there. I mean, air in there. So it has a good mixture of air and gas. Just watch that pointer finger. Put in full auto.
Wait, so can you do full auto?
You can.
What? No way. That's sick.
It's cool.
That's cool.
Should be good to go. Hold on. I gotta let a mixture of air. 3, 2, 1. Try full auto.
Dope, man.
It's cool. I'm happy about it.